There's a blackness in everyone if you dig deep enough, if you push hard enough. I know. When I was 12, my mother married this guy. It was all right before they got married, but there was something sneaky about him. I never trusted him. Soon after they got married, he changed. Started cussing, yelling at me and my older brother, making us do all kinds of crazy chores. Like when we raked the yard, he'd make us dig holes and bury the leaves instead of using trash bags. He was never satisfied, no matter how hard we tried. Nothing was ever good enough. One time, I was in the kitchen, down on my knees, I was petting my dog, and I heard someone behind me. Before I could turn around, the son of a bitch kicked me square in the ass as hard as he could. I fell forward and I banged my head against the wall. I turned and it was him. I looked at him through tears and he just stood there, smirking. And he walked away. Never said a word about why. What kind of a person kicks a 12-year-old kid in the ass? Physical abuse got worse. He started punching me in the arm and he was mad at me. He's constantly yelling and cursing. You never knew what would set him off. He's a walking time bomb. I'd hear him stomping down the hall and pray he wasn't coming for me. But he usually was. 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning, he'd throw open the door to my room and say, "Get your goddamn ass out of that goddamn yard and start working or I'll kick your face in." He meant it. My older brother moved out. He went to live with a friend. But I had nowhere to go. I was 12. My mother became an alcoholic. She couldn't deal with it. I'd come home from school at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and find her passed out on the couch in the living room, dead to the world. I'd do my homework at the dining room table so I could see out the front window and watch for when his car drove up. And run out the back door and hop on my bike and I'd go to the library and read books until they closed. Or I'd go to the movies. I watched the same movie over and over until they kicked me out of the theater. Then I'd come back, hop the fence, and sneak in the back door, praying he wouldn't hear me. One night, as I was sneaking back in, I heard him yelling at my mom, calling her slut, and an alcoholic, and a cunt. I walked to the living room and saw him push her down. She cut her leg and she was crying. I yelled for him to stop, and he came at me like a stormtrooper, pushing me hard in the chest. He pushed me and pushed me and pushed me down the hall until we were in my room. And then suddenly the dam broke. All that 12-year-old rage and resentment I'd been feeling surged in my chest, and I exploded. I grabbed all 200 pounds of him and I threw him down on the bed, sobbing and babbling like a madman. It was as though I had superhuman strength. I felt like I could physically do anything I wanted. And what I wanted to do at that very moment was kill him. I drew back my fist, and my only thought was to turn his face into a crushed pancake of blood and foam. It feels so good. Letting all that pent-up rage and anger and hatred spew out in a pure act of physical violence. Through my tears, I saw something unexpected. I saw terror in his eyes, raw fear of me. He was actually in fear for his life. And I felt at that moment this incredible power, the power to choose whether or not this man lived or died right then and there. I had that power. Once I was calm, I let him up. He grabbed my boot off the floor and drew back to hit me with it. I was no longer afraid of him. He knew it. I stood right up in his face. I dared him to hit me. And he knew he had lost. What's more, he knew that I knew. I would never fear him again.